review, you have number 36 up there. So for number 36, you were given 2 points. You needed to find their slope. When you found their slope, we found our slope to be 0. Since the slope is 0, that tells me the line is horizontal. Since the line is horizontal, that means my equation is going to be a y equals only. It's going to graph like a straight line, and the equation is y equals 5. So again, really focusing a lot on slope, making sure we can find the equation of slope, and then plugging into point slope form and getting a final answer in slope intercept. Okay, 42 was a scatter plot. So scatter plots use lines of regression. If you used the calculator, you got what was in red. If you did it by hand, your prediction line should be somewhere near the red or the green. It could be a little bit below or above both of those. So again, when we do these by hand, we're obviously not going to get the same thing when we do them on a calculator. It is an approximation. Make sure also that you understand the months. You can number them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or if you started September as 9, that could also alter your data a little bit. Okay, 44 was a piecewise. So for a piecewise function, you are going to have pieces of graphs. What I want you to notice is that the arrows are never pointing at each other. They're kind of going in opposite or opposing directions. Those arrows on a piecewise should never be facing each other. You'll notice I have open circles on the purple. That was that middle graph. Its beginning and end were not included. The domain was all reals because these were continuing forever in opposite directions. Your range, since everything was in the positive area, was y greater than 0. There are no negative y values. Therefore, the range does not include any negative y's. Questions at all on that? Because I know piecewise were a complicated area for us back when we learned them. There is definitely a piecewise on your quiz. I can promise you now, you will have a piecewise very similar to question 44. (46) is the reverse of 44, and 46, you are now writing the equation given a piecewise. You are writing the equation given the piecewise. Do not worry about 50. Sorry about that. It's a step function. So we kind of skipped over those. They're no longer on any of the major tests we have to take. So you guys could have skipped 50. Sorry. 54 is kind of like what we've been doing recently. It is graphing an inequality. 54 is something that's not going away. The next chapter we look at is chapter 3. In chapter 3, we're actually going to graph 2 equations and shade 2 equations at one time. So 54 is an important topic. You want to make sure you really know how to graph a line and shade above or below. Pay attention to solid or dashed. 56, this line is solid, shaded below. We graph our x and y intercepts. You could also change it to slope-intercept form, but you see the general idea. 58, I have no idea why it looks like pizza. Somebody probably was adding to my images when we did it last year, because we used to be able to go up to the boards and stuff. But the idea is that all the cheese and pepperoni slices represent solutions, which means that as we work on that problem, you could have picked any point within that shading to be an answer. Okay, number 60. Number 60, you had to first solve the absolute value so that it was in standard vertex form. The vertex is represented by H, K. So again, here in purple is our general form. Everything in red relates to the problem. My vertex was -1, -3. I test pointed 0, 0. I saw that it was false, so I shaded where 0, 0 wasn't. The domain of an absolute value is always all reals, regardless of whether it's an absolute value or an absolute value inequality. The domain of an absolute value is always all reals, regardless of it being an equation or an inequality. And 62, 8x plus 12y less than or equal to 96. Okay, let's talk about our beginning problems. So I'm going to put up the answers to the vocab. So now we're kind of, jumping back to 1. And we're going to go to advanced content from second camera. There we go. All right, so 1 through 6 was choose the correct term. So in number 1, it was 1-to-1. A function is 1-to-1 if each element of the domain is paired to exactly one element of the range. 2, the domain of a relation is the set of all first coordinates. 3, the identity function is a linear function described by f of x equals x. 4, you should have had point slope. 4 was point slope. 5, a set of bivariate data. Bivariate just means 2 types of data. Bi meaning 2, like a bicycle has 2 wheels. Binomial means 2 parts. So that is a scatter plot. A scatter plot represents a set of crazy ordered pairs. Number 6, when you write 2 or more expressions together, you get a piecewise. You get a piecewise for number 6. Okay, number 7. Actually, sorry, JK. 8 was onto. 10 is both. 12 was 11. 14, -3y plus 2. And 16, -6w plus 2. 18 is yes. 20 is no. 22 is yes. 24 was 2, 5, and 10. 24 was in standard form. So 24 is in standard form. 26, you had to move the 3 or the Y. So A is 3, B is 4, and C is 24. 28 was 520 miles. 520 miles for 28. 30, your slope was -2. And 32, your slope was 2. And last but not least, we had 34. 34 was y equals 2/3 x minus 11/3. Y equals 2/3 x minus 11/3. Any questions on any of those that you wanted to see before we do the Jeopardy review? Any questions on any of those you want to see before we do our Jeopardy review? Jeopardy board, if you want to shorten some of them, you can. No, you're going to be getting up and moving your blood. No. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll come up, you'll do your problem, try to get it done correctly before the person with you, and then sit back down. So again, you'll come up, you'll do your problem, and then if you get it or don't get it, you'll sit back down after. Okay, so let's start with Bella and Reese. And we're going to start with vocab for 100. So go ahead up to your whiteboard, left side first, right side. Alright, so vocab for 100. The form of a linear equation in ax plus by equals c is what form? The form of a linear equation in ax plus by equals c is known as what form? It was just on the board. We just did problems like it. It's one word. Starts with S. All right, no points. If you don't know your vocab or you need help, I would write down these key ideas. There is a day of vocab. There is a day of vocab. So the answer is standard. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. Okay, next, Colton and Zach. Okay, for 100, linear inequalities, 100. Is the shading going to be above or below? Above or below? That is correct. The shading will be above the line. The shading will be above the line. Okay, Isabella and Nick. Okay, create a scatter plot. So draw like an X and Y axis. And you can quickly kind of, for the months of the year, start with October is 1, November is 2. And then visits will be your Y. So again, you need to know your range. What's the max? What's the min? And make sure when you label a range or you label any X or Y axis, guys, make sure they go evenly. So don't put like 124, 155. You would want to put like 125, 130, 135, 140. So again, make sure you're going evenly when you create a scatter plot graph. Remember, you guys at your seat are filling this out on that Jeopardy board. At your seat, you are filling out the Jeopardy board. This is an assignment you have to upload because I have to make sure the hybrid kids are doing it. When you're at the board, you put a B. So I know you'll have like, every couple questions a B, but yes, this is an assignment for you. Yep, you're good. So do you see how the scatter plots are kind of not perfectly strong? And then describing the correlation. So the correlation is a strong positive. So I had them graph this so we could see the graph. The correlation is strong positive. You can see through those points, they're increasing. That makes it positive. You're good, guys. And then they're strong because they really look linear when you plot them. Okay, Jordan and Rob. Okay, what is the shape of an absolute value graph? What is the shape? Draw it or write it. What is the shape of an absolute value? Very good. It's a V. Guys, not a trick letter. I mean, not a trick letter. Wow, not a trick question. An absolute value graph is a V shape. An absolute value graph is a V shape. Okay, Joseph and Reese. Okay, give me a piecewise graph. If f of x equals 2 from 0 to 3, and then it's 2/3 for x greater than 3. Pay careful attention to open and closed circles. Pay careful attention to open and closed circles. For the second one, guys, start with 3. So what's 2 times 3 divided by 3? No. Two times 3 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So the starting point in the second graph is 3, 2. That's my hint. Alright, so Zach, go up, Reese, Bella, go up, Joseph, or I guess Reese, you could sit, see, Bella, I will give you a, okay, Joe's first part is good. Because we're making this very difficult. Alright, so I'm going to give team 1 the 100 points, but I want to talk about this. We're making this very, very difficult. Alright, so for this equation, let me get out a whiteboard. And I have no idea where my pen is, so we're going to do this with my finger. So, if you have a graph from 0, considering none of us knew this, from 0 to 3, it was an open circle to an open circle at 2. We had that. That was awesome. That's why Joseph's teams got their points. They had that linear part from 0 to 3 is 2. The second part was that it was 2/3 x for x greater than 3. This is why I asked you, what is 2 times 3 divided by 3? And you told me it was 2. So what that means is that the starting point of this second equation is 3, 2. So you'd go to your graph, you'd go to 3 on x, 2 on y, and you see that they overlap. But this is also an open circle, so we leave it open. This is what type of function? 2/3 x is what type of function? Linear. So once you have a point on a graph, and it's linear, you're just going to go up and over from those points. So you're going to go up 2 and over 3. Up 2 over 3. Draw in a line. It gets an arrow because it's continuing forever. What is the domain of this function? No. Where does the x start? Does it include 0? No. So the domain is x values greater than 0. I didn't say you were wrong. I just wanted to explain it for the Zoom because they can't hear you. It was more for my recording. Didn't say you were wrong. Okay, what's the range? Perfect. Y is greater than 2. Y is greater than 2. It does not include 2. Actually, it does include 2. Sorry. It includes 2 because this linear part right here is including 2.
Can you show us how to make that chart? Never mind.
No, I can go back. Hold on. Maybe. Yeah. How to make what chart? This one?
Yeah. Could you show us how that whole graph would look? because like I have mine and I don't live with anyone.
Got it. So the next point, like if you plugged in 4, you're talking about a pretty disgusting number, because 4 would be 8/3.
Okay, never mind.
And then 5, like you could do your chart, but 5 would be 10/3. So instead of making the chart, I just used the idea that my slope was 2/3, and I applied it to the graph. So once I had my starting point, I didn't need the rest of the table, but you just plug in x values to the equation. So anytime I'm making a table, I'm just plugging in an x value that is true for this into the equation I have.
Gotcha.
Okay. Back to Jeopardy. We made it to the 200s. Oops. Who's supposed to be up there? I don't even know anymore. Let's go with Nick and Colton. That's picked. Ones I haven't seen for a while. It just sounds bad. All right, for 200 points, the point on the line where it crosses the x-axis is known as what? That is correct. It is known as the x-intercept. It is known as the x-intercept. Okay, Jordan, Rob. Okay, for the equation, the line for y greater than 2x minus 3 will be solid or dashed. Solid or dashed. That is correct. All right, the line will be dashed. The line will be dashed. You were, but just not as quick. Okay, let's go with Joseph and Reese. Sorry, the glare was killing me looking through that.
Come on, Joe, you got this.
All right. If the R value is 0, the data has what type of correlation? If the R value of a scatter plot is 0, what type of correlation is that? An R value can be between -1 and 1. An R value can be between -1 and 1. So an R value of 0 means what? Exactly. So if it's not like I want words like strong, weak, positive, negative. So your neutral's not bad. What I was looking for is none. That's why I said your neutral's like kind of there, but there's no correlation. A scatter plot whose R value is 0 has none. All right, Bella, Zach. Hess. I know, I should have put you two on opposite teams just so I didn't have an issue. I think I have 3 Bellas in Algebra 2. Yeah, because like I have you, and then I have Isabella Rowe. I don't know how to say her last name. Is it just, it's exactly how it sounds? All right, what determines whether the graph of an absolute value function opens up or down? What value, like what letter? The letters on an absolute value, which one makes it open up or open down? Like, is the V going to be this way or that way? And what change, like what value or letter makes it change? Or give me an example of an up equation versus a down equation. Yeah, I need a letter. There are 3 letters, A, H, and K. Those are the three choices. Yes, excellent.
Yeah, that shows on.
Alright, so if you don't know this, you may either want to A, take a picture of that, or B, write that down. But if the slope A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it opens down. If A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it opens down.
Because there's an order X
So remember, guys, standard form of these types of equations is y equals a absolute value x minus h plus k. So that's the standard form of an absolute value. This a value out in front is what determines if it opens up or down. All right, last question, and I won't put any of you up at the board. We're just going to make it the first one to get up there and write it down correctly. So it is a team free-for-all. One of you who have, like, the equation y equals a absolute value of x, or absolute value of x minus h plus k is the equation of what graph? And what is the domain? So I need to know what type of graph this is and its domain. Excellent. It is an absolute value graph whose domain is all reals.
I was getting a head start because I didn't know it.
All right, so your assignment tomorrow is the odds for our chapter to review. Thursday, you can get on Zoom and join the Jeopardy if you need more review. If not, you have to do the Jeopardy board outside of that time on your own.